Welcome to the meeting of NA. Welcome to the NA Young People in NA meeting. And for our first speaker, Sara is going to share her experience, strength, and hope. She's from the Small Wonder area.
These microphones are really intimidating. They're just like, well, I guess I'm an addict and my name's Sara. And I'm really nervous to be up here. I guess everybody can tell that. I shared that one time at a meeting, and some guy told me that there's like the scale of fears for people, and public speaking was number 1 and death was number 10. So I didn't feel so bad. So I figure everybody's pretty nervous. I haven't really thought about what I wanted to share. I guess the topic is youth in recovery, and I figure I know something about that because I'm young and I'm in recovery. It's something I've had experience with. And I just wanted to share my experience with it, you know, and how I feel being in recovery. And not even so much how I feel being my age and in recovery, because the biggest thing for me when I came into recovery was I'm too young. I shouldn't be here. I'm not allowed to be here. Everybody's older than I am. And I picked out all the differences between me and everybody else in the room, and I decided that it wasn't for me. And so I don't want to concentrate today on my age or on youngness, because that's not why we're here. You know, like, I don't think we're in this meeting just because everybody's young. You know, I'm glad to see that there are people that are not 20 and under here, because, you know, there's no reason that recovery needs to be segregated. You know, everybody's the same. And that's something I feel real strongly about. We're all just addicts, and we all earned our seat. You know, we all did what we had to do to get here. My big thing was, you know, I've had people come up to me and say, we're really glad you're here before you had to get any pain, you know, and I've had people say that to me, and it's just like, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have any pain. You know, I didn't quit using because drugs were fun for me. I didn't quit using because I liked active addiction. You know, I quit it because it hurt. And I guess I'll start out, you know, I'd like to be able to cram my whole life into 20 minutes and tell you guys everything that happened to me, but I can't. And I figure the addiction part of my life is pretty much the same as everybody. You know, I use. And I don't want to get into a whole bunch of drug stories and a whole bunch of using stories, because that's something that I can do real well. I can sit and talk about all the things that I did. And I could take up hours just doing that. But I don't know. I figure I was an addict when I was born. You know, I mean, like, I didn't use as soon as I was born. But, you know, even the things I did before I started using when I was little, you know, when I was a baby, they weren't what other people that aren't addicts did. You know, they weren't attitudes that other people had. They weren't acceptable. You know, I was really young when I started realizing that I was different from people. You know, I wasn't the real popular kid in school. I wasn't the real popular kid in nursery school. You know, I was the kid that everybody picked on. I was the kid that whined a lot. I was the kid that had to have what I wanted, or I found a way to get what I wanted, you know, and it was never working for what I wanted. It was never talking to people for what I wanted. It was always demanding what I wanted, manipulating for what I wanted. I was a real selfish little kid, you know. I was just real maladjusted to life, you know, and I think that was real clear before I started using. And you know, I don't know what a functional family is. I used to say I come from a dysfunctional family, but I don't really know anybody that has a functional family. I think everybody has something. I think everybody has problems with their home life, you know, and I can't say that mine was, you know, that good or that bad. I have, you know, I was born into basically a middle-class family, you know, and I was abused as a child, you know. We had a lot of problems with our relationships. And my house wasn't a house where you could come and say, you'd come home from school and say, I had a really bad day, somebody hurt my feelings. You know, or my house wasn't a house where you could say, I don't like what's going on here, let's sit down and talk about it. In my house, we learned to hit, you know, we learned to yell, we learned to hide. I thought, I was thinking about my childhood, but I realized that I learned to push people out really early. I used to go into my room when I was pissed off and literally push all my furniture up against my door, you know, so nobody could get in. And that's an extreme case of not wanting anybody to know who I was, not wanting anybody to be around me. And I grew up like that, you know. So I got older, you know, and I closed up, you know. I lived with having my feelings inside myself. I didn't know what my feelings were because we never expressed them at home, you know. And I used to say that I started using because I was abused, because I didn't go on with my family, because I couldn't do what I want, because I wasn't free at home, you know. I used to give all these reasons for why I started using. And I started using because I wanted to, you know. And I used to say, when I went into rehab, I was forced to go, and they told me there, they said, you know, you started using because you wanted to fit in. And I said, no, that's so classic textbook, you know, like, teenagers start using because they don't fit in. You know, and that's kind of true. You know, I looked to where people were accepted, and I looked at the people that were using, and I saw them being accepted, you know, and I wanted that. And it started at a really early age, but I just wanted to use, you know, before I started using. I wanted that way of life. And I don't know, I think that, you know, I started using because I wanted to use, you know, and there was nothing you could tell me that wasn't going to make me. The more people told me that I was doing things that were wrong, the more I wanted to do them because I liked them. I don't know. I lost track of what I was saying. I don't know. I know that I always wanted to be something different than what I was. You know, my mom always used to kid around with me like, you were 21 since the day you were born. You know, like when you reach this age, you'll be your prime age because you've always wanted to be that. I always wanted to be prettier than I was. I always wanted to be older than I was. That was a big thing. I spent most of my addiction trying to look old. I spent most of my addiction trying to be able to get into bars. You know, I spent most of my addiction trying to date men that were like 10 years older than me. Because I wanted to be older, because I wanted the freedom that came along with being older, because I was 13 or 14 and I needed to be 18 to do what I wanted to do, because my parents were in the way of my addiction, because school was in the way of my addiction, because my job was in the way of my addiction. I didn't want to do anything but use, and everything that I was supposed to be doing was just in the way of that, you know. So I gave up the life that people wanted me to lead, you know, like I was in high school, and I just decided that high school wasn't for me. I needed to use fuck school, you know. And people kept telling me, look, school is your job right now. You need to go to school. It didn't make any sense to me because school didn't have any place in my future. I didn't want to do anything that involved education, you know. It's kind of ironic now. I wanted to use. My dream was to be the coolest grandma and teach my grandkids how to party, right, you know, how to do it up. I wanted to go live on an island somewhere with all the drugs in the world and no one else but me. I hope people are laughing because they think that too. Everyone's still like, yeah, right, whatever. You know, and those were my dreams. Those are the dreams that I had when I was using. You know, I don't know. I don't want to go through my whole story. You know, I tell my story. Sometimes I get sick of hearing my story. You know, it's like I only have one. You know, and I used to have this hospitals and institutions commitment, and I would go in every week and share my story, and after a while I got to do the same old shit, you know. It's just like, I don't know. I was a minor when I got clean. I just turned into a major, so I'm not like, I'm not really, you know, but I like saying that. It makes me feel better. But the point is that somebody could look at my life and say, your life is unmanageable, so we're going to manage it for you. My parents lied to me and took me to a hospital, you know, and I was pissed about that for a very long time. You know, it's like, you don't tell me you're taking me somewhere and then take me somewhere else. But that's the only way they could get me there. And they knew. You know, my parents didn't know what I was into. They didn't know who I was with. They didn't know the danger I was getting into. They didn't know the drugs that I was using and how sick I was. But they knew that there was something wrong with me. They knew that I used. They knew that I didn't go to school. They knew that I was hurting, you know, and they knew I needed help. And so they put me in a hospital, and it pissed me off because they called it a psychiatric hospital, and I spent a long time fighting about that. No, it's a rehab, you know, I'm not in a nut hut. And that doesn't really matter to me anymore, I guess. But I wouldn't see them for a month. On their way out the door, I said, fuck you, I don't want to see you ever again, I hate you. And that must have hurt, you know, a lot. It must have taken a lot for them to take me there and leave me there. And I was real hard-ass for about a month and a half, you know, and nobody could tell me anything. The world was wrong and Sarah was right. There was nothing anybody could tell me that was going to make me stop. You know, when I got out, I was going to use again. And they brought Narcotics Anonymous meetings into that institution. and I didn't like people that brought them. I looked at them and I was like, they're assholes. They go home and they read this book that they bring, and they go to meetings every day, and that's all they do, and they're just like, they're boring. I couldn't see living my life like that, and I couldn't see what they had for me. And this one thing that this guy said one time really hit me. And he said, there are 3 places that addicts end up: jails, institutions, and death. And he said, and you're in one of them. And that really hit me. Like, I never really realized it before, that I was in an institution because I was using, because I couldn't handle life on my own. I always thought I had it real under control. I always thought I had freedom because I could do whatever I wanted to do, and nobody could tell me differently. Because I made my own rules, and there's a pamphlet about what addiction is not, and it says right on the top, addiction is not freedom. I got out of rehab, and I wanted to use. I wasn't sure when I got out of rehab. I wanted to use, and for a long time I didn't know whether I wanted to stay clean or not. And I don't know why, but I came to meetings. And I came to my first meeting, and I looked around, and I decided that I didn't fit in. That I looked around and said, I'm too young, I don't belong here. These people can't relate to me. They look down on me. I haven't done enough to be here. I haven't had enough pain to be here. I need to go out and use some more so I can come back, and then it'll be okay. And people told me, people that I was afraid of, people that I didn't want to know, didn't want them to know me, they told me, keep coming back. If you go back out, you'll die. And I didn't believe them for a long time. And, I came in, I had a real problem, I still have a real problem with self-esteem. I used to base my self-esteem on how I looked all the time. I still have a real problem meeting and making friends with women in the program. I judge myself according to everybody else, and I'm real intimidated by people. And I came into the room and I hid in a corner, literally, and I sat there and I didn't say anything during the meetings. And I don't know. After I did that for like 18 months. I would say in the meeting, and I would say my name's Sara and I'm an addict, and I would share about the things that happened in my day, and I wouldn't say anything else. I wouldn't say I had any feelings. I wouldn't say how I felt about things that went on in my day. I wouldn't say. I just said what happened, and that helped me share. That helped me get a feeling for what it was like to share with other people. But I didn't trust the people in the rooms. I didn't trust that they respected me. I felt stupid because I didn't feel like I could go in and share anything of value because I went back to high school after I got clean. I respect anyone that goes back to high school clean. It's a hard thing to do. It's very hard. I'm back to the same school that I went to when I used, and it was hell. It was really difficult to see the people that I used with. I spent a long time building up a bad reputation for myself because that's what I wanted, and I went back to school and I couldn't get rid of it. It was like, and I didn't want it then, but I couldn't just be like, okay, I'm back, forget all the things that I did, and now I'm different. It just wasn't that way, and I wasn't different when I came back. I didn't work when I first got in recovery. I didn't work any steps. I didn't have any feelings. I didn't have any trust. I didn't have any open-mindedness. I didn't have any willingness. I didn't have much honesty. I didn't have a sponsor. I had a home group. I was like, I have a home group and I share, and that's what I do. It took me a long time. I had 18 months clean, and I thought I had it together, and I thought, I was doing things like I was working the first step in my life, because I would read the steps and I would look down to 1, and then everything below 1 was off limits because they said God. And I worked step 1 in my life, I thought, and I fell apart in about 18 months, and I was crying in the meeting, and I went up to some friends of mine and told them that I needed the name of some people so I could call somebody and ask for a sponsor, and that was a real big humbling experience for me, and so I called this person up and I said, will you sponsor me? You don't know me, but will you sponsor me? She's like, okay. So my sponsor ever since, and the one thing I remember is I called up and I said, by the way, I'm only 16. Will you sponsor me? That was a big thing because I needed that reassurance that somebody was going to think I was okay in recovery because I was young, because I just didn't have it. And she said, I don't think it matters what age you are as long as you want recovery. And that really hit me. And I started working the steps, and I would go around to meetings for a long time, and I would share in meetings like, I'm okay. I earned my seat here. I'm okay because I'm young. I have my pain. I would share about my pain. I would qualify myself every time I went into a meeting, and I used to think it was because I was letting other people know that I belonged here. But I was letting myself know. I was reassuring myself that I was okay. And with that came a lot of acceptance with myself. I gained a lot of self-esteem. I don't have to worry about what I look like every time I go out of the house. I don't have to worry if I look 25 or 21. Today I probably don't even look like I'm 18. I looked in the mirror. I was like, God, I'm wearing a costume for this meeting. It's like, osh, gosh, gosh, dude. I don't have to worry about how old I look. I don't have to worry about how old I sound. I don't have to worry about what I do anymore because I'm okay, and I'm in recovery, and I know that I work my program some days, and I'm an okay person, and it's okay to be in recovery and young, and I used to think that it was unfair because I didn't get to do enough things, because I came in and I was like, everybody else got to do so much more shit. Like, I was really pissed off because I didn't get to shoot up. Like, that's sick, that's really sick, but I felt that way. I don't have to do that, and when I started thinking about all the fun I have, when I start thinking about, God, I'd really like to go back and use because I did this and this and this and this. I'd like to think about, do I want to get beat up all the time, do I want to be abused, do I want to be do I want to live in hell, because I want to have these few feelings that I think drugs can give me, and they can't, and I know I belong here today. It might take a really long time. I don't know. I had a real awakening last weekend because I have this thing. I always thought I'd have this magic number of years or months or whatever that would make me cured, and I haven't gotten to it yet. I don't know when it's going to come. I suppose it probably never will. But I tend to get in this frame of mind where I think I'm okay, where I think I don't have to do anything because I have this much together. I went away for a weekend on my first professional convention. I expected it to be like an NA convention. It wasn't. Nobody hugged anybody. I had to wear business suits. I was like, and I got there and I was in a room full of 800 people and I ran out crying because I didn't know how important NA was in my life. I really take it for granted. I live near meetings. I can get to meetings. My friends are there all the time. And I never think about how important it is to me. And I didn't have it there. And I didn't know where it was. And so I ran out and called the hotline and called the clubhouse and got somebody to pick me up for a meeting. And it was just real humbling for me to realize that I was a newcomer there, that I had to go in and say, I'm a newcomer, I need help, I'm hurting. And I realized I have to do that all the time. I have to do that all the time, even with my home group, And like most of my home group is here, which is really cool. I have a lot of friends supporting me, and my sponsor's here, and a couple other friends. And that's cool. People drive, to be with me, and hang out with me and be at this convention. And, and just being young doesn't change that. I have a lot of friends that are not 18. I have a lot of friends that are not 20. I have a lot of friends that are 30 and 40 that I hang out with. There they are. They're the old ones. But, and I guess I've learned that, I never wanted to be a respectable member of society. When I got clean, I realized that at some point I was probably going to lead a life like people that I didn't want to. All the people in school that I pushed away, and I'm like, they're pressed. They're, whatever they are, I didn't want to be like them. They were respectable. They did what they were supposed to do. They looked like assholes to me. That was the bottom line. And I didn't think there was going to be any excitement in recovery. My biggest thing was, what am I going to do on Friday night? What am I going to do in the summer? And it's like, Friday night's not here if it's Thursday night. Summer's not here if it's December. If I take it one day at a time, things are going to get better by Friday night. I just used somebody's line big time, and he's like, like, summer's great. I've had the most exciting time since I've been in recovery. We go cliff diving, we go mountain climbing. I got certified in scuba diving. None of these things I ever wanted to do when I was using. I wanted to use. And You know, I graduated from high school, made it to college, in my second year of school now, and I love it. You know, I love the things that I thought I always hated. And I'm a respectable member of society, I think, some days, you know, and I don't mind saying that. I take pride in that. I take pride in my accomplishments. I take pride in the fact that of who I am, you know, and I take pride in the fact that I'm my age. You know, I think it can be a big asset in recovery. You know, I've had people come up and tell me that they're jealous. You know, and I don't think there's anything to be jealous about in me or anybody in this room, because I don't think there's anything to be jealous about how I got here. I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but I didn't have to go through it any longer than I did. Or I couldn't have made it. You know, I just couldn't have made it. I belong here when I came here. I said it was ironic about how I hated school because I'm an education major now to be a teacher, so it's like, I don't know. I have this thing about helping people. It's kind of my caretaker attitude. I want to please everybody. I guess that's why I'm in that profession. I don't know. I'm really glad to be here. You know, I'm really glad everybody else is here. I don't know if I said anything. Profound. I always say profound in meetings that I go to, right? And my friend Eric, he's like, you have to say profound just for me. So I probably haven't said anything profound. My sponsor told me, you know, you just have to go up there and share for you. And that's a little hard when there's these big microphones staring you in the face, but I guess I did. You know, my experience is that I belong here. You know, I earned my seat here. I worked to be where I am today. Recovery's not easy. It's not easy at all. It's a real bitch some days, but I haven't picked up. You know, I haven't thought about picking up today. I don't have the obsession to use like I used to, and that's a gift. You know, they say NA offers freedom from active addiction. That's all it offers. It doesn't offer you houses. It doesn't offer you school. It doesn't offer you a job. It offers you freedom from active addiction, and all the other shit comes later. You know, and I didn't believe that, and I didn't believe in miracles. But I do. I believe in miracles because I think I'm one. Yeah, and I have a lot of people that aren't in the program that say, what you've done is really amazing. And I don't think it's amazing for anybody. I think it's what we have to do to survive, or to live. You know, addiction is surviving for a while. And I think it's what we have to do to live, you know, and I don't know, I'm just real glad to be here. I guess it's a privilege to share up here. It's real fucking scary, though. It's like all these people. But I don't know, I thank my friends for supporting me and stuff. And everybody else in the room, too. Everybody looked attentive, so I guess that's, like, a good sign. But I don't know, I guess I'm out of time and I'm kind of out of words, so that's all I have.